Diversity, equity, and inclusion, with the acronym DEI, are three words that most embrace as an important concept. But many also aren't sure how to truly implement and onboard an effective DEI strategy. So to help you with this, I welcome to our program two professionals from our industry who can share important details about DEI, especially with what they're doing themselves in their own organizations. Today, we have Marcela Sztainberg, the head of human resources at Essendant, and Amie Kromis, the DEI director at Essity North America. Ladies, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Are you ready to get started on this important topic?
Absolutely.
Okay. My first question is this. Can you share with us the impact the ISSA Hygieia Network has on you professionally, as well as the impact it has on the men and women in your organization? And Marcela, let's start with you.
Sure. So I've started working with Hygieia probably about right at the top of the pandemic. Felicia had reached out to me and we started working together. For me personally, has been an expanded network that I didn't have before. I've met great women outside of HR, which for me tends to be something good. Otherwise, I always network with other women within HR and men. So this has really expanded and enriched my personal network. So that has been fantastic for myself. As far as Essendant and our associates go, as we've developed the relationship with Hygieia, we have Renee Starr, who's our head of sales, who sits on the board for Hygieia, and I know that she has developed many connections. The sales team in general has a lot of interaction with Hygieia in general, and recently we've started participating in the mentoring program that Hygieia offers and expanded it to all of our associates throughout the country. And we've seen great participation and very good feedback so far.
Very nice. Amie, let's pivot to you. What would you like to share?
Yes, similar to Marcela, for me, it was, I've been with Essity now for just over a year. And so prior to that, I was in the construction development industry for 10 years and was really tied in with trade organizations and just industry groups there to really fuel the professional development, fuel the learning. And so for me personally, ISSA and Hygieia have been just catalysts for my growth in terms of industry knowledge for health and hygiene. And so, whether it's between the ISSA show, whether it's between Hygieia and just the rich networking that takes place there, it's been very rich for me personally just in this first year. And then as far as Essity and our involvement, it's been interspersed throughout the years. But this year, we're actually making a concerted and strategic effort to really see how can we make the most of the offerings that Hygieia has to offer. Like Marcela mentioned, the mentoring program. There's just so many different avenues for involvement and engagement, which we realize we can really leverage and that we realize that we can have for the benefit of Essity employees. So I've had an excellent experience thus far and I'm excited to continue to dig in.
Well, welcome to the industry, construction, now cleaning. So I'm sure you'll find some similarities with what you do and have already experienced that. Let's dig a little deeper. What I'd like to do is talk about what you do with your company, and especially with your diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. And I know sometimes these questions are in their infancy because some are just getting started and figuring this out. But I know you've made some progress. Amie, you've been there about a year. Why don't we start with you, and why don't you share a few things there?
Yes. So prior to my arrival at Essity, we hadn't had anyone in North America in the position. About a year prior, we hired Pia Hook, who's based out of Stockholm, from a global perspective. And so we really are still in our infancy stages of setting the foundation, defining our strategy, which has been created. And so for us, the strategy really encompasses an internal viewpoint. So that way we can certainly have our house in order, in addition to an external viewpoint. Essity not only has our professional hygiene business areas, but we also have consumer goods and also health and medical, which is more product, based, more B2C. And so there is an external link there that's much more direct. And so we want to make sure to address both, but also focus on the fact that, hey, we absolutely need to focus on our internal dynamics and our internal offerings before we go full force external as well.
Thank you. And Marcela?
Yeah, so I've been with Essendant for 13 years, and the way that I like to talk about our journey through DEI is that this is sort of our third iteration of DEI. Everybody says third time is a charm, and it seems to be true. So we've sort of relaunched our DEI strategy and efforts around June of 2020. It was after the George Floyd incident. We felt that as a company, having gone privately recently, prior to 2020, we felt it was something important that we wanted to reinstitute with our associates. And so we are on our third year of our strategy. We very much so internally so far, we have not, every year we talk about creating the external, whether it's supplier diversity or looking at our customer base, but we haven't gotten there. But internally we have certainly developed and come through in our strategy in the last 3 years. We started with the DEI Council that helped set the strategy. The first year we focused just on awareness. And so what we did is we just had a council and we created a lot of educational materials for all of our associates. We have a large distribution warehouse network, we have 30 distribution centers throughout the country, and it's always very hard for us to get information to that population within our warehouses. And so the first year was all about awareness, and then year 2 and 3 have been more about allyship and education. We are now sitting at 6 employee resource network groups. So we're very happy about that. We have a lot of engagement. We just completed a survey that went out to all of our associates, and we are digging into the results to see what people, what they feel, how they feel about what the efforts that we're putting forth, and what may be things that we're not doing that they have interest. So lots more to share on that, but that's sort of where we've been.
It's a lot of work and a lot of effort. Both of you are busy. I know that. So Marcela, you shared some of the things you're doing with your initiatives and all. Amie, anything to add there on the key initiatives that you are implementing at your company?
Definitely. So back in 2021 at our Capital Markets Day, we actually launched 3 targets for 2025 that really sets as kind of a milestone for us in this journey in terms of accountability and really thinking through what are we trying to achieve. And so those 3 goals are gender balanced leadership. And so that is anywhere a range from 40 to 60% representation. Also inclusive work environment for all, which we're measuring through our employee engagement surveys. And then also underrepresented groups represented as well. And so that's more of at a geographic level based off of demographics. So those are our targets, but we have to do some work in order to achieve those. And so actually this year we launched an initiative called Courageous Conversations, which one of our beliefs and behaviors is courage. And I know when I was performing my due diligence on Essity, I said, well, that's pretty bold to say that courage is one of your beliefs and behaviors. And so we're really leaning into that And it's activated through different ways. One is through in-person sessions. It's kind of like a lunch and learn where we've trained facilitators throughout the globe. And we focus it around the United Nations DEI dates. So everything from International Women's Day all the way to Day for Persons with Disabilities. And it's all focused around a real world scenario. So we kind of set the background of why this topic is important, a real world scenario, and then we debrief in terms of, okay, what did you think about this? But more so, how can you put solutions into action into the workplace? So it's activated that way. It's also activated through a podcast that we have, where we have every day that we do it associated with guests that come on board. So definitely implore everyone to go and look that up. It's called just Courageous Conversations on Spotify, Apple, wherever you want to find your podcasts. And then also too, I'm realizing I need to connect with Marcela after that as well, because we're setting up our DEI Council, which super excited about. We have our country lead who is the executive sponsor. And so I'm sure there's some best practices and lessons learned there too, that Marcela's had with the 3 years with the DEI Council.
Mm-hmm. It's leaders like you that make a difference, because those watching this right now, they might be wondering what they can do, and they're getting ideas, and they could join you or do some of their own programming. But very nice details. Marcela, back to you. Any more to add to this on the initiatives?
Nothing specific. We do a lot of what Amie shared as well. I think it was last year we recorded a sort of fireside chat conversation with different individuals, minority associates throughout the different functions that we have, where we had sort of one of those courageous conversations, and we then kind of chopped it up in digestible sort of 5 to 7 minute videos so that we could have it play at the break rooms for our distribution associates. So that was really, really well received. Excuse me. Last year, we also we relaunched our values and guiding principles. And so we're going through something similar where, diversity, equity, and inclusion is one of our guiding principles, and defining a little bit with more granular, what does that mean to everyone? Mm-hmm. And recently this year, we've launched a diversity, equity, and inclusion training alongside unconscious bias. And the last thing I'll add is we hire heavy distribution associates, which is in today's environment not easy in the United States. We have started a huge effort about 18 months ago we're calling inclusive hiring. And what we do is we partner locally with organizations, nonprofit, that are looking for, whether it's a second chance, hearing impaired, or any other disability. And what we do is we develop the relationship with those agencies first. We ask what is it that they need, and then we go and we look to see if we can accommodate the needs that they have, which 90% of the time we can. And we've developed a very, very nice pipeline of individuals. We right now have 4 pilot facilities, and we're hoping to expand it to hopefully all of our facilities throughout the country.
I'm having a hard time keeping up with all you're doing, but that's why we're recording this.
We're busy.
You're very busy. And I tell you what, I'm always looking for a good podcast. So I'm going to be looking for what you ladies are doing. Marcela, let's stick with you on this one, because I wanted to talk about the Hygieia's company exclusive mentoring program that you have some experience with. Can you speak to that and how that helps your DEI efforts beyond what you've already shared?
Yeah. So, for many years, we've heard from associates that they wanted us to develop a mentoring program. And we've tried a couple times when we really weren't successful. And so in talking to Felicia, when we learned that Hygieia was doing it, I first participated myself as a mentor. I wanted to learn the process, how it worked, how it was set up. And I really enjoyed it. I know both our CEO, Harry Docelli, as well as our SVP of Sales, Renee Starr, both participate as mentors. And so this year, what we decided to do is to do an exclusive one for Essendant. So we have about 30 mentors, and I think we're sitting at like 70 or 75 mentees. So there's like we try to keep it at a 2-to-1 ratio. And, we went through the mentors and we made sure that we had equal representation across the board, whether it's, function, gender, minority, etc. So we had just finished our first sort of round. We set them up in 6-month increments. We told people, if you want to continue, you're more than happy. You're more than welcome to continue, but we felt 6 months was the right time, and we gave guidelines around, meeting every 4 to 6 weeks, etc. So I think what we've learned and what I've based on the feedback we've been getting, really what we're trying to do with that program is to create engagement and help associates develop. And creating a mentor-mentee relationship, it's great. So the platform that Hygieia has put together, it's been super helpful, and it actually allowed us to deliver on something that we hadn't been able to do before. And hopefully with that, they're also now aware that there is a larger network, and if they want to look for mentors outside of Essendant, they have that opportunity as well.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. Amie, we're going to pivot to you, and here's my question. And we don't want to be negative, but we want to be realistic. So let's speak to some of the toughest challenges that you face with DEI efforts and initiatives, and how you've overcome them, or how you're working those out. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, Marcela's pointed to one of them. I have two in mind, and it's the manufacturing population. At Essity, I've kind of broken it down into there's different experiences. You have typically your office-based experience, your field-based experience, so kind of our reps that are out in the field, and then manufacturing. They're all vastly different, but we all belong to the same organization. And so you have all of these different potential. You could see them as barriers, you could see them as opportunities, but time constraints in terms of shifts. And, do you get someone at the beginning of the shift, the end of the shift? How do you compensate them if they do need to stay before or after a shift? How do you pull them off of the line in terms of, access to laptops and Essity cell phones not being a reality? It really is a completely different experience of how you consume information. And so, for instance, for our DEI Council, we made sure from the beginning, we've had a planning team operating for the past few months. And we made sure to have manufacturing representation on that team, because we need to know how that group can best be served. And so even from something as simple as the platform that we're using for the applications for the DEI Council, it was selected because it was, there's less barriers to entry for that population. So those, even when I was in construction, I would love going out on site and, seeing the product that was being made and, seeing this often forgotten population that really makes the organization churn. I'm still working through how we can better serve that organization, and that how they can also feel DEI even within their space. So that's one. And then also too, just the reality of when we talk about external forces, whether it's political, whether it's law and legislation. We've had the recent rulings from the Supreme Court with affirmative action, and also with designers in specific communities, specifically the LGBTQ plus community. So, right, it's really having and really hearkening back to a safe and respectful workplace, where how we can have civil discourse, how we can have constructive conversations, rather than just being so polarized. And so that's where a lot of my headspace can go nowadays, because it is very easy to get sucked into these topics from a divisive point of view. Whereas if you look at the benefits, they far outweigh any type of imagined conflict that we can have.
Yeah, I know the conversations around the proverbial water cooler can be one thing, but the reality is what you're dealing with, trying to make it all work together. Marcela, anything to add to that?
No, I think we struggle with the same. So even though in the last 3 years, I feel a lot better about how we approach the subject within our distribution warehouses, it's still a struggle to get the information to them, to allow them to participate. So I can definitely relate to that. And I would say second point is the same for us. We have actually a pretty sad event recently. So in June we celebrated Pride Month, and we have a very, very small but mighty associate network group called PRISM that represents our LGBTQ plus community. And when we finished the celebration of the month, they unfortunately received an email asking them to stop their efforts because this doesn't belong at the workplace. And we've been very clear and upfront that these are our values, and everybody should be accepted for who they are and respected equally. And so it's always sad and sort of like a wake up call when you get confronted with something like that.
Yeah, you responded quickly and took care of it.
We did.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that with us. I want to talk now about top leadership down to workers. How do you make sure that diverse perspectives are represented at all levels in your organizations? And Marcela, we'll start with you.
So I would tell you it's hard. It's I think we have Harry is absolutely amazing when it comes to ensuring that we try at least to have representation at all levels. I have to say we are extremely lucky, and I don't think this is by chance. It is thanks to Harry and who he selected, but we are extremely lucky. Today we sit at the executive level, we have 50% women represented, which is unheard of, especially within our industry. So I'm very, very proud to work for a company like that. Now I'm Latina, so I kind of check 2 boxes. But when you look at the rest of the minorities, we don't have other representation at the executive level, and even on the second layer, we're a very, very flat organization. And so getting people to that next level, it's been hard. So, we work on succession planning and building the bench. We have this past year started really doing training and unconscious bias training around interviewing, so that we make sure that we do bring minorities into the interview process. Because a lot of times, if you just go through who applied, you're not always going to get the pool of candidates that you're looking for. So we're doing a lot of efforts on development around those topics, but it's hard. It's not easy.
I imagine so, but you're ahead of it, and recognizing that and then working with it is key. Amie, what would you like to share about this?
Yes, it is. I mean, visible commitment from senior leadership can make worlds of a difference. And so one of the things that we're also a member of Catalyst, which is kind of the way I would describe it, is a DEI think tank. And initially started specifically for women, but now they've also addressed different dimensions of diversity, such as race, ethnicity, sexuality, things of that nature. And so we crafted through them this inclusive leadership course. It's kind of more mini modular. And so we rolled that out, inclusive leadership for all of our leaders Also, too, we've noticed there's these touch points, these experiential touch points. So courageous conversations that I mentioned earlier, when we had the first one in our offices, for instance, Pablo Fuentes, who was our country lead, he endorsed all the conversations and went into the rooms and was endorsing those conversations from a positive standpoint. But even after that, we've made sure to, when leaders do come to those conversations, that we kind of disperse them out, so that way individuals can see them speaking transparently, can see and hear, can see them listening to people's experiences. So that's one piece. I would also say we're really working on being more data informed. So finalizing a dashboard right now where we can, to Marcela's point, from a succession planning standpoint or from a retention standpoint, we can see where are the drop-offs happening, right? So that way we can be more informed in our thinking and go straight to a potential problem rather than just building things off of narratives that may be one-offs. Right. So there's lots of angles to it. And then I would say the final piece is just kind of the pool that we're going to be fishing from. This is an industry where typically when you hear about it, it may be from a family member, it may be, because of a friend, whatever it may be. And so expanding who even knows about this industry and how we can make the industry attractive. So thankfully, we have some good partners in our employee attraction and talent acquisition group who are helping us think even more creatively about how we can change the narrative around the industry and that it can be a fulfilling career and a lucrative career as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I know when I speak to people about DEI, sometimes they ask, what is it? And really it does a quick Google, you figure out what it is. But I have to ask this question. Let's talk about training and professional development that you're offering staff so they get it. So they understand and implement what you're all about. Marcela, can you share something there?
Yes. So, as I mentioned, we started this year with we're just going with a vanilla title. We're calling it Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Training. And what we're doing is really educating our leaders around what it is. And we're going through basics. So the DEI manager that we have, Molly, she's and a few other people within our council went and got a DEI certification from different places last year, and we developed our own module of training and what we felt was important for leaders to know and understand. And going back to what I was saying earlier, we're starting at education. When we're having the conversation, a lot of times you assume people know, and we're taking that kind of out of the equation. We're walking in assuming people don't know. And so we're starting the conversation, this is education. You may know, you may not know. So it's okay to ask questions. And we want to sort of level set everyone so that from there we can set expectations on how we want them to treat the people that report to these leaders.
Good strategies. Amie, how about you folks there?
Yeah, the fundamental piece is so important because you assume that people know, but oftentimes the I and the E are conflated, or people don't know what the E is. And so with our Courageous Conversations facilitators, we had 3 2-hour sessions with them. And the first one was just setting the foundations, diversity is a fact, inclusion is, a conscious action, equity is an informed decision. And we kind of gave examples of that. And then on a larger scale, all of our senior leadership teams for our different business areas, I've conducted DEI workshops with them where they're 3 hours and we dig into the fundamentals. We go into unconscious bias, and then we go into allyship and action. It's in no way a solution 100%, but it's a way to, like Marcela said, to level set so that people are on the same playing field when we go and dive a little bit deeper next time. So that's absolutely necessary. Something that we're crafting right now is a much larger educational opportunity for for folks within the organization. But in the meantime, Catalyst has kind of served as that resource for us where every Essity employee can log in and dig into whether it's different knowledge bursts, different infographics, different podcasts. And so that's been really helpful for us as we really design something pretty intentional.
Yeah, all that really helps, I imagine. Well, thank you, ladies, for your comments. Great information. As a final wrap up, let's just have an open microphone opportunity. What would you like to share with the industry about DEI and what others should do now? And Marcela, we'll go to you.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is, I think, a very important and great conversation. It's something that for years it was sort of like a buzzword, and I think we're at a point where just in general the lack of people that want to do certain jobs, baby boomer generation sort of exiting. For years I've been hearing about this gap that is coming, and I think that we're there. And looking at DEI as one of your strategies for not only retaining but attracting employees, it's very, very important. So definitely, if you're doing a little, doing a lot, this is something that it's important to have the conversation amongst different professionals. I'm sure we're all trying to figure out what we're doing and how we're doing it, and sharing ideas is, I know I always welcome it. So I, open up my email and phone number to anybody who wants to reach out. And Hygieia has been a great partner in making happen a lot of the things that we were looking for. So if you haven't attended any of their webinars or sessions, I definitely encourage you to do so, because I know they've been very rewarding for me, and the people that I've met there have been terrific. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Marcela. Amy, bring it home. You get the final word.
Well, I will start off by echoing Marcelo's sentiments. Thank you for having us. It has been a very smooth, great conversation. So thank you for facilitating us through this. It's been excellent.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And I would certainly say, just from personal experience the past year, also experience from folks within Essity who are a part of Hygieia, absolutely join. We've been talking about different topics that Hygieia will put out information about, webinars, things of that nature, events, regional events. It's a great way to build social capital, but also to learn about the industry at large. And then from an actionable standpoint as well, in terms of what one can do within their organization, there's a bevy of things. It can be something as simple as, if you're in a meeting and you notice that someone's continuously getting spoken over, you can, kind of be an ally in the moment and say, hey, are you trying to say something? I've noticed that you've been trying to break into the conversation, or whatever it may be. We want to hear your voice, right? Something as simple as that, all the way to some type of informal mentoring, whatever it may be, especially for someone who may be new to the industry. And, if they need to ping someone to see what the lingo is, or whatever it may be. And then also too, just from a more relevant current event standpoint, this is more gender focused, but it's Fortune releases a daily newsletter called Broadsheet, BROADSHEET. It's free, and it really links DEI to business, which if we can't get everyone with the hearts, we can hopefully get them with the minds. And so that's one way for people to understand how DEI is not just the right thing to do, but it's also excellent for business as well.
You both have given me things to do. I got to find the podcast and other resources that you've talked about. But thank you both for your time today, and I'll see you at a future industry event, and we'll continue the conversation in person.